You're listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. Join us as we explore new frontiers in consciousness, science, and evolution. And now here's your host, Karen Curry Parker.
You are where you are in your life because of the choices that you've made. If you're like most people, you've got choices you regret, choices that didn't really feel like real choices, choices that brought you to new places, or choices that left you feeling stuck. The analysis paralysis and the struggle to reason ourselves through life choices can often create powerful and seductive avoidance strategies in our lives. How many times have you turned away from embracing a situation or a challenge because you didn't know what to do? Have you hidden out and maybe even distracted yourself from the pressure of confusion by unplugging from life? Sometimes failing to choose is also a choice. We are all hardwired differently. We don't make choices in the same way, and yet we are conditioned and trained to use our minds to figure things out like some kind of magic formula. This may work for some of us, but not for all. The awareness of knowing how you choose gives you the skills to create new situations, new meanings, and ultimately new possibilities in your reality. What if you could never make a wrong choice? What if you knew how to leverage your unique magnificence and choose the path that's right for you? Imagine a reality where you can be fully present to where you are, doing what you came here to do, and choosing what's right for you. Welcome to Quantum Conversations. My name is Karen Curry Parker, and I'm really looking forward to sharing a great conversation with my guest, Ann Tucker. Ann is the author of the book, Undoubtedly Awesome, Your Own Personal Roadmap from Doubt to Flow. She's an author and a speaker who's addressed audiences around the world on topics of leadership, personal transformation, decision-making, that's important, and I love this, the psychology of doubt. We have to talk about that because I don't know what that is. It sounds scary. She's the founder of Wisdom Soup, an online social learning community that speeds up serendipity by connecting people with similar interests in spirituality and personal growth. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we just have to dive in and start talking about doubt.
Yes.
The psychology of doubt. What is this psychology of doubt? And let's talk a little bit about how does doubt affect your life?
Yeah, sure. So, I think everybody's experienced doubt. And it really is the big mystery is why is it that some of your decisions, every one of us has a lot of decisions that we feel great about, right? That there's things in your life you can point to that you've chosen that you love and you feel like you were really a successful decision maker when you chose them. But there's all of us have those decisions where that's not the case, where we think about it and it gives us a little bit of angst. Maybe it's decisions that we never quite completed, where we're sort of stuck in limbo, or maybe it's ones that we finished, but that we never, the decision feels unresolved, where we're sort of leaning out or feel like maybe we chose the wrong thing. And the real mystery is why is it that sometimes our element of doubt is understanding why and how. It's not something that you're just consigned to, that you have to live with. There is something you can do about it. So
what can you do about it? Because I want to know now.
So the interesting thing about doubt is that it affects each of us differently. That most of us think that everybody makes decisions the exact same way that we do. The way that you think and solve problems is well, I like to think of every problem as like a seven-sided door, seven-sided shape, and each side has a different door in it. And each of us has one way into that problem, one key into a door that's the one that we really like. And we assume that everybody enters the problem from the same place that we do. And that's not the case. Everybody has a different way. We each have our own unique way of coming at the problem. And the way that you make your choices, the way you think and solve problems enables you to have very specific gifts, which are wonderful. It enables you to be really good at that way into the problem. But it also opens you up to doubt. It opens you up to, it's sort of like your success is also your weakness. So where that doubt comes in is going to be different for each of us. Each of us has a different particular weakness. So for some of us, doubt is going to affect us on the beginning of the decision before we've come to any kind of conclusions. And for other people, it's going to be more on the end of the decision after you feel like you've chosen and you start leaning out or having those regrets. So it really is a different experience for each person.
So I have a really, and I may be going down a rabbit hole, but we've had a lot of quantum conversations in the last couple of weeks with different people who have talked about pain and fear being catalysts to growth. Is there such a thing as a purely right decision for anybody?
It's a fabulous question. I love that question because I think we get really wrapped around the axle around this whole issue of choosing the right thing. And I think we tend to think that there's a magical attribute that the thing we're picking is going to have that's going to make it the right one, you know? And what's bad about that is that if we pick the wrong one, then there's something wrong with us, that we weren't smart enough or good enough or clever enough to see the perfect attribute, right? That's a mistake that we made. And the truth is that when you get down to it, when you're trying to make a choice and you've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 things that you're really seriously considering, the truth is that any one of those always or almost always has a good chance of making you equally happy. That you're looking at 3 things and all of them are going to have good things and bad things about it, right? There's always polarity between things. There's always a balance, positive and negative. All of them have some good attributes and some bad attributes. And so what's going to make the difference as to whether or not that particular choice is going to make you happy has a lot less to do with the thing you choose and a whole lot more to do with how you choose it. And that's really contrary to how we think about choice. Mm-hmm. We think that it's the thing that has the magical property. It's not. It's your process that has the magical property. It's how you're doing it. And sometimes your process works great and you love your choice. And sometimes your process lets you down and you end up feeling bad about what you chose. And that makes you feel bad about yourself.
Okay. So that brings us to, I think the beautiful thing that's in this book that's so empowering is, you talk about there isn't a one-size-fits-all strategy to decision-making, that people make decisions in different ways. And you relate those decisions to different archetypes that you call soul types. Yeah. Talk to me about what are the soul types? How many of them are? I think there's 7, right? And
7.
How does each soul type think and make decisions in their unique way?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So like you said, there are 7 different soul types. And remember how I said that the problem is like a 7-sided door. So each of us has one of these keys that lets us into the problem, our preferred way to solve problems. And even though we're all capable of handling a whole problem by ourselves, there's one way that we tend to come at it, where we approach it. And it lands in a different phase of solving the problem. So, for example, the first 2 soul types that I'll talk about, they tend to focus on figuring out solutions. That's where their gifts lie. The first soul type is called the optimizing soul type. And the optimizing soul type, they are really gifted at coming up with the innovative solutions, with thinking outside the box. They tend to take existing things and combine them in new and unexpected ways. So any of the words that start with the letters RE really apply to them. Reimagine, rethink, redesign, reorganize, renovate. Anytime where you're redoing things and coming up with something new and different, that's your optimizers. So they're figuring out solutions with this really out of the box, very non-linear, very visual thinking. And so the second soul type I'll call the learning soul type, and they're also focused on figuring out the solutions, but they do it really differently. Their approach, they are the really logical, analytical soul type. So they're the ones that come at it with, they delve into the depth of the question and they want to collect all the data. And their real goal is mastery. They want to be able to master the subject area. And they have this really wonderful neutral way of being where they're able to remain emotionally detached from the decision longer. So they end up with this very well thought through, very rational decision process in terms of figuring out that solution. And the next 2 soul types are focused on a different part of the problem, which is figuring out the plan. So we've got the first 2, figuring out the solution. Next comes figuring out the plan. And the first of those soul types is called the efficient soul type. And the efficient soul type, they are talking about figuring out the plan. They kind of hang out at the 30,000 foot level, and they're looking down at the problem like it's a chessboard, and they're able to see all the pieces, and they are looking for what is the most efficient, most effective way I can get from where I am now to my goal in the quickest way possible. And they're going to use all the resources that they have available to them. And they are able to take that real strategic approach. And they have a detachment where they understand the strategy of, I'm going to sacrifice my queen in order to win the game. So they have they're wonderful strategic planners. And then they're talking about resources. The other soul type that's also focusing on figuring out the plan is called the coaching style of coaching soul type. And they are more focused on looking at people. So figuring out how you can get the most out of people. The coaching soul type, they tend to look at people. When they look at you, actually, they're wonderful to talk to, because when they see you, they look right through you. They're able to see what is absolutely best about you, what is the best that you are capable of. And what's amazing about them is that they see that as if that's who you are today. So when you interact with them, that's what they're reflecting back to you. They're reflecting back to you this person who you are on the inside, who's waiting to be expressed. And it inspires you to live up to that. So they're amazing people developers, amazing people managers, and they're really great at figuring out how to use people in terms of their best capabilities to solve problems and get things done. The next soul type is focused on a different area of the problem, which is getting us aligned, and that's the expressive soul type. And the expressive soul type is the most influential, most persuasive soul type. They have a real direct connection to their emotions, which makes them very fast on their feet. Our emotions are really fast. So these are people who always have a point of view. They always know what they think, and they say it very quickly. And because they have that strong emotional connection, they can always find the drama. They can find that truth feeling in whatever they're saying. So they say it fast, and they say it with power, and they know how to get you, how to really get you engaged in what they're trying to say. And the gift that they have is they're really motivated by what is the common purpose, what is the cause that unites us all, so they can rally us with this amazing ability to connect all of us at this emotional level around a common cause. They can make sense out of if we're working on something together, they'll make sense of your sacrifice or your hard work towards this greater good. So they unify us behind a common purpose. And then the last two soul types are focused on getting us moving. So this is a different part of the problem altogether. How do you create momentum and actually get things going? And the first of these soul types is called the experimenting soul type, and they are very action focused. And what they do is, rather than going through an elaborate planning process, they have the ability to look at the problem and immediately pick out the top 2 or 3 things that are going to be the critical pieces of information to let them know what to do next. And then they're off and running immediately, and they have an idea of what might work, and they're going to experiment with it. They're going to try it out by moving. And so they can go
throwers.
Yeah, exactly. They can go from 0 to 60 in 20 seconds. And once they're there, they'll be looking at all times, scanning the horizon, looking for, is this the best choice, or is there something better? Is there something better? Constantly ready to adapt and change along the way. So they always have plan B in their pocket. So they're amazing. You can imagine amazing in an emergency situation. They're amazing in any kind of a business or work world where you need to be really adaptive and ready to change on a dime. They're great at starting things. That's a big gift they bring, is that momentum. As the rest of us sometimes have a hard time getting moving, these guys are your buddies. They can help you get rolling. And then the last one is the collaborative style. And they are focused on the collaborative style. They are like the center of any group. They tend to bring us together and bring everybody together in terms of finding the common ground. And anybody who has skin in the game in a particular decision, they're going to bring everybody together and make this a collaborative decision process. They're focused on ideas that raise all boats in a rising tides. They're trying to find things that are best for everyone. And they are very inclusive. They're always stretching and reaching for what is the best. How can I excel? How can I raise the bar? But they want to bring everybody with them. So in any group that you're in the middle of that group, not necessarily the person that's charging ahead and leading. They're the heart of the group, the one that's bringing everyone together. That's your collaborative soul.
So how can, I mean, I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, well, I think I'm this and I think I'm that. Do you have, or maybe I'm part of this and part of that. So
Right.
is there some place where people can go to sort of figure out what is their soul type and how they can use that understanding to help them make better decisions and get back into the flow of?
Absolutely. And that is something, by the way, what you said about listening to these different types and feeling like some of them different ones resonate for you, is that each of us is born with one natural soul type. But over the course of your life, we have to adapt to different circumstances. Say, for example, if you're a more careful decision maker and then you end up being in a job where you have to move on a dime, you are able to grow by taking on or learning some of the traits of other soul types. And so most of us have one native soul type that's the one that is the natural one for us, our native gifts. And then there's usually one or two others that we borrow from heavily. So as you hear these types, you may say, oh yeah, that one I do and that one I do. But there's a survey that's in my book and it's also on my website that if you go through, it's very quick. It's literally 3 questions because I do it as a flow chart. So it is amazingly efficient. And you take that survey and it'll tell you your native, your natural soul type. And that's really important because your native soul type, that your natural soul type, it comes with specific gifts that are really important to you in terms of feeling fulfilled in your life. That if you have these gifts and you don't express them, it can make you feel like there's something really big missing in your life. So it's really important to know what that is.
So, and you said the website is undoubtedlyawesome.com, or they can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So undoubtedlyawesome.com. And, I would imagine too that what you would discover when you understand this aspect of yourself too is also not just your decision-making style, but that maybe there are certain decision-making styles that are more suited for different kinds of, say, work. For example, I can imagine that if let's say you're a collaborative learning style, but you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur, that might feel really out of sync or out of balance and might make you feel stuck sometimes.
I love that question because it's one in my executive coaching practice, which I left about 6 months ago to start Wisdom Soup. But this is where I developed all of this information. And I would use this a lot in terms of understanding why is somebody succeeding in one role and failing in another, right? What is it? Where and how do we best express our gifts? And the truth is that every soul type is capable of excelling at every level. Every soul type has been in the White House, right? There are CEOs that are every soul type. However, that if you look at the where and the when of where, how, and why they came into that position, it was because at that time, that position needed the qualities that they brought. So, for example, if you have a company that is, a hard scrabble, getting things started, entrepreneurial, turn on a dime, you're going to be really successful. If you are an experimenting soul type, it's going to be an environment that really caters to your strengths. Or if you're in an organization that is under heavy regulatory pressure where you're having to negotiate with unions and you're really needing to be diplomatic and find peace, well, then a coaching or collaborative soul is going to be much more successful. So it's at all levels in our society, you'll find all soul types, but people do tend to excel when they find an environment that caters to their strengths.
So one of the things that we talk about a lot on Quantum Conversations is how do we help people feel empowered in their lives? And we talk about this a lot of times in the context of not so much current events, but we talk about it in the context of global events. We are in, I think, a very interesting place in the world right now. There's seemingly, at least if you read the news, seems to be a lot of tension, a lot of terrible things happening that can easily make you feel powerless or feel like there's something that you want to do. And I find that people are oftentimes saying, I want to do something. I want to make a difference, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
What do you say to people, particularly in the context of soul types and decision making and moving out of doubt? Is there something that you can tell people that can give them at least some kind of strategy to move from that place of powerlessness?
Yeah, I think there is, if you really are stuck about what to do, when you're really, and there's different places, like I said, if you're starting to go through a decision about how can I act, what can I do in a confusing time, it is going to be different. Our coping mechanism is going to be different for each of us. And if you're a person who tends to be making decisions more quickly, and you're ready to jump in more easily, where this is going to hit you is really after you've entered into a process, you're starting to do something. And so then for this person, I would say, okay, look at how you can stay emotionally engaged in your solution. How can you stay emotionally focused on what you're trying to accomplish? For the other person who tends to be more slower to decide, who's probably still trying to figure out what to do, who maybe feels stuck. For that person, I would say narrow down your options. As you're trying to figure out what to do, there's a lot more benefit in just doing, that it doesn't have to be the perfect thing. That pick something, pick one of your top three, narrow down your options and commit to that. Really engage your emotions and put all of yourself into that. And by committing to it, you're going to help it to be a lot more successful. So it's the difficulty is in terms of that feeling of how can I make a difference? What can I do? It is by committing ourselves, by putting all of our energy towards it, whether your difficulties on the front end or the back end, it's that commitment that focuses our energy. And rather than having that sort of feeling of that energetic leak where you're confused or you're not sure what to do and it feels like you're sort of dissipating your energy, once you fully commit to something, it really does help to focus it and put it all in the same direction so you're able to make a lot more progress.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Ann Tucker, the author of Undoubtedly Awesome, Your Own Personal Roadmap from Doubt to Flow. Ann's book is available on Amazon. You can also, again, just revisiting this, if you want to take the quiz and discover your soul type, you can go to undoubtedlyawesome.com and check out Ann's online community, her serendipity-inducing community, wisdomsoup.com. I love this. Wisdomsoup.com. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You choose the meaning of your life. That's the ultimate, most creative choice that we make every day. We think sometimes that we're stuck or even broken, but even feeling stuck or broken is a perspective that you choose. Quantum scientists teach us that we can either measure the movement of an atomic particle or the location of an atomic particle, but never both at the same time. In other words, your life is either an unmanifested potential or a potential that is expressing itself fully in your reality. Choosing is what determines the potentials you fulfill in your life. If you counted on your hands the number of times you've made a wrong choice, you'd probably be counting for a very long time. If you counted on your hands the number of times you've learned something from your choices, you'd probably also be counting for a long time. If the purpose of life is growth and expansion, and each choice, good or bad, brings us an opportunity to grow, is there really such a thing as a wrong choice? Knowing how to consciously choose and your unique decision-making strategy gives you the power to make choices that create less chaos, less suffering, and bring you closer to fulfilling your true destiny. You have the power to choose which meanings, which potentials you want to express in your life. I invite you to choose wisely and to make choices that reflect the beauty and the magnificence of who you truly are. If you'd like to discover your unique energy blueprint, your human design, and find out what kinds of choices you need to make to fully express who you truly are, please visit our Quantum Conversations Facebook page where you can get your free human design chart and report. You're going to discover how to make better choices so that you can do what you came here to do and be who you came here to be. I'm Karen Curry Parker. Thank you for joining us for Quantum Conversations.
Thanks for listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. For more information, visit joyfulmission.com.